Welcome back to my channel. So today, by popular demand, I'll be sharing a list of my favorite personal development books. These books have really helped me evolve as an individual by guiding me on things like how to effectively recognize bad habits, improving areas of my mindset or lifestyle. And I'd say most importantly, these books have really challenged my own preconceived notions on areas like goal setting and effective communication. So this list will really be reflecting areas of improvement that I've been working on in my life over the past few years. Now I want to preface this video by pointing out a few things. Firstly, the self-help genre is diverse with thousands of authors that share their perspectives on which steps you can take to live an arguably the most perfect or productive life. So I say there's pros and cons to this. The pros are that you can pick and choose which author most closely resonates with your values and beliefs, all while staying true to yourself and staying within your boundaries. Cons are that you can get overwhelmed with all this information that's thrown at you and not really reap from the benefits that this genre provides. And the second thing I want to point out before giving my recommendations is that before diving into a self-development project, you gotta be honest with yourself in which areas of your life you're willing to improve and how much effort and time you want to dedicate into it. Otherwise, investing time reading a 400-page self-help book is a bit redundant. Especially after putting down the book, you don't really adopt any of the changes from anything that you've read. I mean, I've been there, I've done that. And if that's the case, then you can always revisit one of these books and make it a point to absorb and then practice what you've read. If not practice, at least take a note on what you've been reading and give yourself some time to think about how you can or need to apply this to yourself. So before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, click that thumbs up button, and hit that little bell to get notifications for new video releases. Alright, and let's dive in. So first on my list is Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. So this is an extremely dense but very informative book. So the book draws on neuroscience and psychology to explain the function and importance of emotional intelligence, on our relationships with ourselves, and how to manage our emotions. Daniel Goleman covers the 5 domains of emotional intelligence as self-awareness, self-regulation, internal motivation, empathy, and social skills. And he explains each domain with relevant examples on their applicability to day-to-day life. If you're anything like me, you'll enjoy this book for its in-depth analysis and ability to shed light on a mental component we often don't credit enough to having a big impact on our lives. My biggest takeaway from this book was the knowledge and awareness to recognize, control, and manage my emotions, whether they be negative or positive. This has allowed me to better understand others and, for example, to read the emotions related to a situation and take better control of my reactions and respond appropriately. A big heads up, this book is very detailed and at times boring. It took me a while to get through the first few chapters because I kept falling asleep, but after breaking into the book a little bit, after the first 2 or 3 chapters, I found the material to be very intriguing, and I ended up finishing it pretty quickly afterwards. Second on my list is The Social Animal by David Brooks. I actually just recently finished this one and I finished it pretty fast. I loved this book for its premise, which was formatted by adding scientific studies and analysis through the lens of a fictional story. This made the book both gripping and informative. The Social Animal dives into the subconscious mind to discuss human nature as it becomes influenced by cultural, political, and the moral influences of one's environment. I think that's the best synopsis I can give without really giving anything away, so I'll leave it at that. This book alerted me, in a sense, to the deep influence bias plays in our society. I particularly enjoyed how David Brooks sheds light on the unconscious and conscious mind, especially in response to today's political climate. I found this book doing a great job at communicating how humans are inherently creatures of habit and self-interest, often fulfilling self-motivated decisions and not really questioning why. Yet if we are to tap into these unconscious decisions or beliefs, we can catch and critique ourselves for falling into a realm of opinions or actions that may not necessarily be ours, or question how these actions will shape us or the world around us. So along with Emotional Intelligence, I think these 2 books are a great resource to dive into the topic of self-awareness. And number 3 on my list is Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. For many reasons, this book has had a huge impact on me. I read this about 5 years ago, so the details are a bit hazy. So after putting some of the criticisms that I had for this book aside, I feel like overall, Outliers has a lot to offer its readers. Essentially, in Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell takes a really interesting approach on measuring what constitutes an individual's success. He credits external factors like culture, family background, and personal experiences, and weighs them heavily as major contributing aspects of how someone can fall into a niche that ultimately leads to their success. This book gave me a really refreshing take on what it means to be successful, and I think that's one of the reasons why it so closely resonated with me. It was not only motivational, but it gave me an alternative way to think of my goals and means to achieve them. Another huge takeaway was to start diverting closer attention to my environment and turning otherwise ignored factors of my life into potential strength that may help me in the future. And the 4th book on my list is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. So after examining my lifestyle and being a little self-critical, I noticed a lot of my goals became a bit overwhelming to work toward, solely because my habits weren't reflective of where I wanted to be. So similar to emotional intelligence, this book is heavily research-based, but it will give you convincing and concrete answers as to why we function the way we do, followed by how to change this if it's not to our liking. I was struggling with creating productive habits. I'm a master procrastinator, and that did not always work in my favor in university. And as a student, you constantly have to juggle multiple priorities, so you have to create a durable system that'll help you achieve everything while maintaining a balanced life. And so when I turned to this book, I ended up learning and understanding how to better control my willpower and to set habits that ultimately resulted in a very rewarding system. So if you're looking for a book that provides in-depth explanations and poses some interesting questions, I'd highly recommend this one. And last but certainly not least is my current read, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. So one huge lesson I've learned from the pandemic is that your mindset is a foundation for everything in your life. Everything, and I mean everything, stems from your mindset. And I was the type of person that used to think that I have most things under control, and if I don't have that it's alright. I'll sort it out as problems come. But man, the pandemic was a whole different ballgame. And I had situations thrown at me that I've never really encountered before. And I had heard and read a lot about Stoicism. So I thought that this was a philosophy that I could easily adapt into my life. And not even just easily, but it could definitely give me something to learn from. And it was quite related to the emotions that I was feeling throughout the pandemic. And it helped me approach those emotions a lot better. So this book is written in a page-per-day format, and it is sectioned into 3 movements: the discipline of perception, the discipline of action, and the discipline of will. The book is composed of quotes by several Stoic philosophers, and the quotes are expanded and reflected on by author Ryan Holiday. And going back what I had mentioned early on in the video, I enjoy the page-per-day format because it really allows me to sit with the material and absorb it. I tend to reflect throughout the day, so eventually it helps retaining the lessons taught in this book a lot better. And that is it for my list today. If you guys have read any of these books, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your recommendations for self-development books. I will catch you guys on Tuesday with a new video. See ya!